asymmetric opportunity is like, once I learned what this meant, I was like, it just changed my life, which is
the fact that you've been doing this for 14 years, or that you know you're going to be doing it for the next 14 years. It actually doesn't matter how much you grow in a year, because I'm going to be here for 20 more years, so everyone can take their time.
I don't know, I might oppose. I feel like...
Because I'm a corporate girly, I unfortunately have to start with data when it comes to brands. But I do understand that when you're just focused on data, you're looking from what historically works. You're not looking at what could work in the future.
I love Monday.com.
Monday.com hater. Hater, Notion all the way.
Like one lucky winner could win a chance to come with me on set with Rihanna, for example.
There is something called the Late Payments Act. You can put it at the bottom of your invoice. I did it for years when I was a smaller creator.
What is the best and worst advice for pursuing a career in the creator economy?
Let's start with worst advice. Everyone's got bad advice in their life.
Everyone's like, oh, don't write an email with it. You'll forget how to write emails. And I'm like, I'm so sure I won't forget.
Well, that doesn't make sense to me, but I guess it's industry standard. Well, the industry is bad. I don't know what to tell you.
I can confirm industry standards never make sense.
Right. So exactly. I'm like, you can do anything, and you should do the thing that's better, because industry standard is another way of saying average. I'm like, okay, but I'm not trying to do the average thing. I'm trying to do something better.
It feels quite transactional. No, we're not going to give you the money until 90 days. Actually, no, you're collaborating. I can now invest that money that you've given me for that project.
Creators' content will be evaluated on a metric that we call earned media value.
What's earned media value?
So,
hi guys, welcome to Creators on Creators. It's your executive producers here.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Tati.
And we're here at the Qube studios in Elephant and Castle recording our very first roundtable episode.
So let's get into it.
Hey everyone, thank you for having us. We're going to start off this first segment with who we are and what we do. So how did each of you enter into what you do today? Were you a creator first, a strategist, or something in between? Who wants to take it first?
First. I started making stuff online when I was 14. So I've been doing this for 14 years. Also very old. So when I started as just a kid posting stuff online. I started off making gaming videos, and I didn't have any way to record any of my gaming. So I just used to steal people's clips online and just re-edit them and learn editing that way. And then I made a dance channel, and then that went somewhat well. And then I got too scared that my parents would find out, so I deleted the channel. And then I ended up continuing to make different types of videos until I sort of landed on what I'm doing now. And I did a variety of things in between, including run YouTube events, direct, and all this other stuff. But I've just always been in the creative world and posting stuff online.
And for people that don't know, do you want to say your name and what your socials are?
I'm Taha. I run the channel Answer in Progress, which is a factual entertainment channel, which is a blend of education and entertainment, and it's a lot of fun.
I want to know what dance this channel is. What kind of dance was it?
Okay, listen, I was 15, and I was it was when George Sampson and Flawless and Diversity were on Britain's Got Talent, and I was like, oh, I could do that. So it was like hip hop and body popping. I used to do it in my back garden. I used to steal my mum's iPhone 4 and record it and then post it online.
I love that. So
It's
if
great.
we stick around long enough,
Definitely
you'll see
not
it. The after party.
But yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Chrissy Milan. I've been creating content on the internet for the last 10 years. I started when I was 16 on YouTube, and I was making hair videos, beauty videos, fashion videos, and that kind of just stayed with me up until now. And now I'm a freelance social content strategist and still a content creator.
hi everyone, I'm Ishbir. I'm a influencer marketing strategist at a company called Creator IQ. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, and I moved to London 2 years ago. I actually was not in creator for a while. I started my career pretty traditional in consulting at KP. Hated it. I was like, I want to be in beauty. I want to be in fashion. So how do I get in that industry? In Toronto, it's not really the biggest industry to want a career in or to be successful in a career like that, but I still tried. And my first job was at The Ordinary, their head office. So some of you guys might know that skincare brand. And through there, I just fell in love with skincare. COVID hit. I started my own skincare brand. And then I used TikTok as a way to talk a little bit more about skincare advice, especially for people of color. And that's when I grew my TikTok community, which I then took to Discord. And then I started to have more intimate conversations with my community on Discord and realized that I love building community with people and building a brand together. And then through there, I got the opportunity to move to London as a creator marketing strategist, where I now lead strategy for some of the biggest beauty and fashion brands. I won't name them because of confidentiality, but I work more on the business side. So we talk more about what is happening in the creator economy as a whole, what kind of infrastructure do enterprise brands and small brands need to be really successful in influencer marketing. That includes like channel strategy, what types of creators they should be working with, all the way through to maybe diversifying from organic into affiliate, etc. That's me.
This explains the amazing skin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Like, I'm sat next to, like, everyone with good skin. Did you find a difference between, like, back home versus here? Like, huge difference?
Yeah, London is a hub for like beauty and fashion brands. Back home, like, there's not too many head offices that live in Toronto. They're all like just smaller, like, operational divisions of whatever's in like the US or in London or in Europe, because I work across the global teams and all across EMEA. So I don't just focus on London. I focus on MENA, which is a really fast growing creator marketing industry space. I work with APAC. So I get like a bit of everything here.
What about you?
I am a content creator, but also a creative director for a production company. My name is Pele, by the way. And you'll find me on my socials as Pele Noor. Content creator. I started off as actually a motion graphic designer. So my skills come from very much post-production. And I've used those skills to essentially build my content creation, my social media platform, but also now I'm building a production company where we work alongside creators to bring them onto certain campaigns, but we also work as a production company themselves, like as it is. We also have a talent arm, which is it's really cool actually, because we are getting creators onto the roster that are very much skilled in like editing, directing, very much like film production based. They don't have to be, it's not purely that, but that's where like our strengths lie. Or just not your typical content creator where they're like, this is like nothing to other content creators or anything at all, but it's less like, hey guys, welcome to my content, like welcome to my channel, but more so more of a production behind them. They could be models, they could be actors as well. Like it's just more of the production side of things. So yeah, we're doing that as a Boulder Talent, and Boulder Studios is the production company. So yeah, that's what I do. Nice. Okay, next question. In one sentence, what's the unique value you feel you bring to the creator economy?
I guess I could start. It's a weird question because you have to sort of gas yourself up. But I think for me, the thing that I've always noticed that people have found valuable about my contributions is that I've been doing this for so long that I have seen multiple life cycles of different trends. And so sometimes if a creator's been around for like 4 or 5 years, they haven't been around the last time something like this happened, like the last time there's been a huge withdrawal of advertising dollars, and everyone thinks it's the first time there's been that type of crisis. But if you've been around for 14 years, you've heard it 1,000 times, or at least like 6 or 7 times where that's actually happened in a major way. And I think that the insight that comes from just being around for so long has been really valuable in my ability to understand where we're going as well. And then because of that, I have also ended up I've sort of stumbled into a lot of just like consulting work because I have insight into different areas of the industry, because I've sort of moved around throughout my career of doing this, from working when I was trying to figure out whether or not this was going to be a job. I worked on the ad agency side. I did an internship, my only job, and then I also was a creator, and so I had this broad, expansive experience, especially when I started to do a lot of the consulting stuff, because then I got insight into other creator businesses, and I think that perspective is slightly more unique when I have the time of 14 years to really understand, like, oh yeah, that happened like 12 years ago, and here's why, and I can sort of like apply that knowledge to what's happening now.
Is that more for like newer like businesses and people, or do you find that you're consulting for actually businesses and people that have been in it for a long time, but you're actually trying to improve the way that they're doing it with a new mindset?
I think it's a mixture. I think honestly, like, the consulting work is usually very few and far between, but I just like helping just creators in general and contributing to this like really rich ecosystem of people. And so I like to help out in whatever way I can, if that's just my perspective, or if it's like a formal consulting thing with a brand of some sort. And so with the more informal, just like, yo, what's going on kind of thing, that's more usually, I think, creators who have been doing it for like less than 8 years kind of situation, where maybe it's their first time experiencing certain things. And then with the more formal consulting stuff, I think it's more creators who potentially are solo creators looking to try and transition into building a business around their brand, or it's brands looking to understand how to create a personality-based relationship with their audience. So I'm sort of taking the brand and business scaling knowledge to creators and the creator knowledge to brands. But ultimately, that's kind of like what Answer in Progress is. It's me and two other people, Sabrina and Melissa, who we run the channel together. And so it's this weird thing where Answer in Progress is both, it's a creator business, but it's also a brand. And that blend is like kind of where we sit. And so we have to think about it like a business that's more traditional, but then also like 3 creators doing this as a collective. And so that's like a strange middle ground that we sort of sit in.
I think for me, I've always said that, similar to you, I felt like a double agent in the industry. So starting off as a creator, I used that to leverage to get my first job on the brand side. And then being in that role, I was able to give them advice about how creators work, what type of campaigns they'd want to be on, how to structure the campaigns, that it benefits the audience, knowing my audience as a creator, but also how it benefits the brand. And in doing that, I've been able to build out brand campaigns that work for both the creator and the brand, able to build relationships with creators. Because I think sometimes, because of the industry, it's extremely casual, but extremely commercial at the same time. And it's difficult to find the in-between. And because of that, I've been able to be someone that can build the in-between off. This is what a campaign should look like, so that it's social first, but also this is how the business can win with this type of campaign. So double agent.
I like that.
I feel like a double, maybe triple agent, because I worked on the brand side, like starting a brand, also on the brand side at The Ordinary, even though I was like answering questions from customers, just understanding how that relationship works from an HQ point of view, and then becoming a creator accidentally on TikTok to now being a strategist for the brands itself. I feel like I approach creator economy as an art and a science. I find that sometimes when I work with really big brands, they see it as mechanical. Like, you push one button and something will go up. You push another button, something will go down. And that's just not how creators work. Their relationships and their actual like human to human relationships that you have to focus on. So I take both the science approach in terms of infrastructure and like how to scale the beautiful work that creators are doing, but at the art side of things is really following your intuition, leaning in on like conversations that are happening culturally, and bring those two together to help a brand be successful.
And for me, I would say it's bringing like a high value production side to campaigns for the creator economy, but also for like my own personal work as well. How much can we push a creator's video, and how much can we push that creator's content? And I almost want to challenge, like, can my video, can someone that's on our roster, can that be as good as a normal TV advert or an agency that's done that with like a huge budget? So what I try and bring is just as much quality to my content as much as possible, and almost trying to bridge the gap between TVC and social media as well. So I feel like social media works really well, and it's great to like sell for companies, but it's more lo-fi, it's more like chilled in the sense of like production company, whereas TVCs, they might not work as well on social media, and they don't quite translate between one another. You don't see someone's TikTok on TV, and you don't see someone's TV like commercial working that great on social media. So for me, it's trying to bridge those two together of how can you still have high production and a great value of video, but also for it to work on social media and or work on TV as well. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to bring. Just I think people have a very strong connection to what they think an influencer or content creator is. So it's me just like trying to see whether I can make them think differently to what a content creator is or can be.
How do you find pushing past? I feel like we're in an era of like lo-fi and silly and quick content, and it sometimes frustrates me because I feel like the art of high quality content is being lost. How do you find yourself like pushing against that grain?
Yeah, it's a constant battle, I think. I think as well, a lot of the time it's brands don't understand how much time, effort, money, budget, energy goes into something that is higher value. That's just from a brand campaign point of view, but also my own personal, like organic videos. But I would say that a lot of the time when you start seeing a lot of one thing, people tend to want the other. So it actually kind of works in my favor a bit because there's so much like lo-fi or so many, let's call it lo-fi content that actually works in my favor, that the people that are following me or the people that do want to digest my content are seeking for that kind of content. So I think there's a world where everything exists, of course, but yeah, it's almost being that uniqueness in that huge sea of, you know, the same lo-fi kind of content. So I feel like it works for me. Like, yeah, I haven't seen anything negative in that sense. So
nice,
yeah.
Keeping the art alive.
Right, gotta try, gotta try. Okay, next question. What's one misconception people have about what you actually do day to day?
I'm always going first. Everyone's just like, you said a question, everyone turns to me. All right, guys. I mean, I think my life in general is fairly normal in the sense that I generally work like 9 to 6, don't work weekends, live a pretty just normal life.
Must be nice.
Yeah, but I think the reason that's like a misconception is maybe because it's less typical, but for me it was just, I was like, low key, like weekends are kind of nice, like let me do that. And then I was like, evenings are kind of, let me do that as well. So then I was like, wait, I've just reinvented the 5-day work week. But like, yeah, I do live like a fairly typical work life. And yeah, the misconception is primarily my mum, who thinks that I can do stuff at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, which technically I can, but like, you know, I try to keep my life pretty normal.
Is that been from the start then, you've had this like 9 to 5 structure, or is that as time's gone on and you've got like your business has grown?
Yeah, when we started, it was like, yeah, there was no 9 to 5. It was just, we just worked every single hour of the day, unfortunately. And I mean, we loved it. Like it was great, but it was, I think year 2, it was tiring. I remember like a significant moment was us having a conversation being like, all right, guys, what if we took Sunday evenings off? And it was like, there was disagreement. I remember Sabrina was like, yeah, we could do that, but like, I'll probably still work. And then it was like, wait, hang on. And slowly we just clawed back our Sunday evenings, and then our Sundays, and then our Saturdays, and then we went from there, because we also work across multiple time zones. So the team is like across a bunch of different time zones. And so when we were working, like people were working early to catch me. I was working late to catch the people in America. And it just truly was like an ever expanding amount of time that everyone was spending on stuff. And I think we just realized like we're in it for the long haul. Like I've been doing it for 14 years and I plan to do it for the next 14 years. And you can't work every single hour of the day. And I mean, I don't think that the Monday to Friday is like the ideal way of working. Like in the past, I've experimented with different things. Like I kind of like Wednesdays as a weekend. Then you get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, and then you get Thursday, Friday, and then if you want to work Saturdays, you can, and then you get like 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on,
Makes
1
sense.
day off. But like I've tried different things. I tried 4 day work week, but like that's the spirit of being like your own boss. But yeah, I think that's the biggest misconception is I truly just live I found a good rhythm to just have a fairly typical 9 to 5 sort of vibe.
That's really good because like you're in a really good space then to be able to do that, because I know like a lot of, I think the other misconception is people will think that creators have an easy life. So as soon as you start content creation, they're like, oh, I'm going to have this day free. I've got this much time. I can go here, there, everywhere. But it's like, well, where are you finding the time to do that work, to do those brand deals, to continue on that progression? So yeah, I think that's almost like completely opposite of that misconception.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think you can be really flexible, but ultimately I feel like there is about 40 hours of work that I need to do in a week. And then I'm like, well, I could just put it in the normal like structure that already exists from society. Or you could do the flexible thing, but then the flexible thing means you're working at weird hours. And yeah, I don't know. I found a lot of value from meeting also the professionals you have to work with. So like whether it's the people at the brands, or whatever, like they work 9 to 5 broadly. And so I found a lot of benefit to just be like, oh no, I'm available when you're available. And I don't really reply to things. If you're going to email me at 7 PM, I'm clocked off. Like you're going to get an email at 9 AM tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And people don't expect that when you start, but like they seem to have started to like get on that vibe as well. So
yeah, that's good. Work-life balance.
Yeah. Work-life balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's, especially as like a beauty lifestyle fashion creator, there is this thing where it's just like, ooh, girly pop life, you go into events, you look cute all the time. And the reality is that I spend most of my time with like a messy bun in a dark room editing. And you even get that from brands. Like if you're on a campaign and you're pushing back on timelines, the tone is often, what else are you doing with your time? But it is that thing of structuring it like a business, like a 9 to 5 that helps put boundaries in place.
For me, when I was moving to London and I was like, yeah, I'm going to work in influencer marketing as a strategist, a lot of people thought, oh, like, that's not really a real job, or that influencer marketing is a trend right now. So you might have a job today, but tomorrow when they find the next thing, you won't have one or it won't be as stable. And I strongly disagree with that because I feel like brands nowadays are putting in double the amount into influencer. They're investing so much. You're consuming influencer content wherever you go. So I feel like I'm also seeing a shift in the creator economy where brands are really focused on infrastructure and how to scale the amount of creators they're working with at a level that I've never seen before. It's not like 5 years ago where it was like you see product and it's like, oh yay, we have an influencer marketing strategy. It's a whole new playing field. So I'm really happy to have been a part of an industry that's growing, and it's consistently growing, but a lot of people feel like it's trend focused. And unfortunately, even brands see it as a trend. Like, again, something that you can grab when it's there and then just kind of don't think about it when it's not. That's not the case anymore. You really need a solid strategy and program that's all year round for brands. And as part of that, you need a team that's all year round. So it's more stable than what people think it might be.
One misconception people think that I do day to day, I would say just pick up my phone and press record. There's a lot more work to it, like what you were saying, like sometimes you're sitting in the room, like you look a mess, but like you're just there editing all day. For me, it's the amount of pre-production, and that's basically before you film, the amount of pre-production you do before actually filming is kind of wild, especially for the stuff that we do, for me and also for Boulder. And the amount of planning that gets involved. I mean, my manager's literally probably watching me right now, but sometimes he hates the way I'm like, no, I need to know this answer. I need to know this. Like, I need to know a lot of detail before accepting a job, but also making sure that I can definitely do this job because I know how much planning is involved. So yeah, that's probably the biggest misconception of like how easy it is as a creator, just day by day, just like hit record and just go. And there's a lot more to it.
There are like, low-key though, there are some creators who are just hitting record and like they just have the source and they just go for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if whenever have you ever met those types of creators and been like, how do you feel? Yeah, how do you feel about that when you're like, damn, like they are just like.
I think envy is definitely there. I think it's a mixture. I think there's a bit of envy, but then it's also beautiful that they can make that work for them, and like that, it just shows how broad this world is. Like there's I know it's so cliche to say, but like everyone can be a content creator because you can either be super on the production side or you can be a go-getter, spontaneous vlogger. Like everything's there for everyone. So I almost look at them and think, how can I actually like more simplify stuff in a way that makes my life easier? And actually that's part of this year's strategy for me of like creating tiers for certain clients, as to say, if you have say this budget, or even personal projects, if I only have this amount of time, or if a client only has this amount of budget, then maybe it's the C tier, like the bronze level of like which are more quicker vlogs or something like that. And then you've got like the A tier, the gold tier, where it's like, okay, there's this amount of budget that I can spend on pre-production, post-production, or there's this amount of time that I have. I've got loads of time to do organic. So yeah, it's actually making me realize, actually, I need to simplify a lot of stuff because one, it's burnout, but two, like you just run out of time in the day, in the weeks, in the year. So.
Yeah. I found this. I thought I would be more envious when I was around them than I ended up being, because I realized they sort of live a life to me which is like kind of insanity, in the sense that they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, because they just like get up and they're just shooting and stuff. Yeah. They're most spontaneous people. Obviously there's like middle grounds, but I realized that like I've sort of built the type of life that I actually like, which is I like the predictability. I like the fact that there's never an emergency or an urgency, because I have this like nice routine. Whereas when I look at some of my friends' lives who are way more spontaneous than me in terms of the way they make content, they are way more riding the trends. They might be working loads when they're like when they're really hot, and then when things are like a little like cooler, they are way more stressed out about that, and the spontaneity, it has its downsides as well. And I was like, I realized that you kind of like, you get to build the version of this job that you want. And I was just built to do a 9 to 5, I guess. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it, innit? It's like, I think it's time. That's where it comes down to, like, how much time have you spent to create the career that you have? So the fact that you've been in this job for so long, you know what works for you and your business. Whereas when you first starting, you're probably trying out like so many different varieties. And fortunately for me as well, I've had enough time to figure out who I actually am as a creator. I don't like, looking at my manager again, I don't like getting like a vlog and just talking. That's just not me. I will try and do it, and I will try and get my camera out and talk through it, but I'm just naturally not that person. Whether it's because I'm around cameras all the time, maybe, I don't know, but I just don't naturally gravitate towards that. So at least I know, like, okay, these are my strengths, and I know I can slightly work on my weaknesses. But I think that comes with time. Like, if you've been a creator for like 2-3 years, you're starting to know what you truly are like and what you want to do. Because otherwise you're just going to burn out if you're doing stuff that you don't enjoy. Yeah. And that would be like the spontaneity of it all. Next question. Yeah. Okay. Compared to when you started, how would you define success in the creator economy today?
I'm not starting.
I can start. That's fine. I think this actually, since I've started in the creator economy, I believe this, and this is from the brand perspective. I think the biggest sign of success, and I kind of use this as a barometer, a litmus test for if a brand actually has true community, is if the internet ceased to exist, if it just disappeared tomorrow, would people still be talking about this brand? If yes, they probably tapped into something really culturally significant. They have a community that cares, you know, those super brand fans that would like drive miles and miles just to, you know, get an autograph from an artist, like that level of community. That's what I would say is important. And what I've noticed brands do a lot nowadays is they're just there to optimize the algorithm, and that's not how community is created. So if the internet stopped existing and those brands fell out, it's because they only cared about the algorithm and numbers and not the art behind creators and the relationships you build with them.
Interestingly enough, compared to when I started, how I define success today would still be the same. Because when this started and influencer marketing wasn't an official thing, it was who is tapping into their communities the best that would have an audience that would stick with them. And we've kind of come full circle where we've seen like people grow, virality happen, people who were creators years ago who don't create anymore, and people are still asking, where are they? I miss this type of content, I miss this type of content. And then they might put back up on TikTok if they were a YouTuber years ago. And then people are like, oh my God, I missed your content, I haven't seen you in so many years. And that same community is what's the thing that's keeping them going, or that's what people are seeing or what people want the most. And even though it's changed in the way that it's done or the platform that it's on, it's still how well are you tapping into that group of people that you were speaking to in the first place. And I think at certain points I probably would have defined success by like how big the channel is or how many numbers they have or like how much that specific post, how well that specific post did. Whereas now being able to have someone say like, oh my God, I've been following you for 9+ years, I'm like, that feels like success to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's weird. Like I think my like goal of success changes between the year and like, or even like a few months, like 3 months. Sometimes the success can be, oh, I've managed to post quite frequently these few months. Sometimes the success is I've got loads of virality with my content, and then sometimes it's like I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing, because sometimes you do go through those times where you don't enjoy it. Like it's just going to happen. You can't enjoy your job every single day. So I think it really depends on the time of the season it is for me. It used to be virality and, you know, oh my gosh, my followers are growing, da, da, da. And actually now it's completely opposite. It's more to do with my mental. If I'm doing good, I know my business is doing good, and I know that my brand deals are doing good. Because the moment I've gone through a time where my mentality wasn't great and my mental health wasn't great. And so everything else kind of, this is before like my business and stuff. That's when everything started to break down, because I was the face of my company, or my, not company, sorry. Well, yeah, company, Pele Noor, like on Instagram. But the moment that I stopped looking after myself was the moment that also everything else started to crumble a little bit. So success for me is now making sure that I'm happy and good, and then everything else can be good as well. Especially when you've got a team, like when your team is relying on you, you've got to make sure that like you're good too. So that's how I measure success.
What was success for you before?
More virality, and like more like, are the numbers doing good? Or am I going viral? Am I getting the comments? Am I more followers as well? Because when you're more of a micro influencer, the goal is like, let's get a bigger audience. And then you get the bigger audience, like, wow, I don't know what I'm doing with this audience. Like, how am I talking to these guys? Like, it was so strange and bizarre. The moment that I started to get more followers was actually I became less sociable on social media, which was really strange, because when I was a smaller micro influencer, I mean, I'm not a huge influencer by any means, but I was way more personable online. I was a lot more almost like stories and, you know, chatting to my community. Now that I've got more, I almost feel more distant. So yeah, that's what I was really trying to get, the success of numbers, because in my head, numbers meant more brand deals back in the day. numbers meant more brand deals, which meant more money in my bank, which isn't always the case. So,
what about you guys? What was success at the start for you when you started? What felt like this is what I need to achieve?
From a creator perspective, when I put up my first video on TikTok, I did it overnight, and then I woke up and there was 7,000 views, and I was like, oh my god, cute, my first video. And then I got people in the comments asking me, oh, what did you do for that? How do you fix this skin issue? So I was in the comments, I have to respond to every single one. And then in a matter of hours, it went to 2 million, and that was views and a bunch of comments. And I was like, what the heck? And a lot of that converted into followers too, which doesn't happen today. And I've noticed that for other creators, if you go viral, it doesn't always convert to followers. I think that was the beginning of how I set success for me was, are people actually talking to me, or are they just looking at what I'm posting? And so I always look at comments and shares, and if I have people reaching out via DM oh, I really loved how you did that, can we get on a call and just chat about something? I think that is how I perceive success as a creator. And then as a strategist, you probably can feel this or relate to this, but sometimes you create decks on decks on decks, and that's where strategy goes to die. Nobody actually ever cares about what you have to say, or you have this really inspirational conversation with the team and the brand itself, and they're right, okay, we're gonna do this. And then 3 weeks later, it's oh yeah, no, we want you to give us more, but something different. And it's well, did you actually hear what I told you the first time? So I think when I see a brand actually hear out my strategy and I see it embedded in what they're doing next, that's success for me as a strategist, that it actually sees fruition, actually sees the light.
Yeah, I think for mine, when I started, I would say that for me, it's been the same, weirdly enough. It was just how many people is watching this piece of content and it's helping them do something. So I think I did videos where it was how to style Doc Martens, and then people are oh my god, I never thought of this, and that would make me go yay, that's done something. I think in between is where it got messy, because at the beginning, when there's no expectations of what this could do, everything just feels like success, because you don't know where this could go. And in between, when you see it become a career, or you see what things turn into, you start measuring by things that you didn't even know existed. And now it's just going back to that simplicity of how much can this piece of content help someone, or how much value can it bring someone, how much can it translate, and someone say oh, I didn't think of it that way, or this helped me do this thing. And I think from the brand side, like you said, when a brand actually listens to what I say we should do and actually brings it through to completion, it feels like a miracle, because oftentimes you come up with these great ideas, you have so much reasoning behind it, you have the data behind it, and then they're oh, actually, no, I just feel like we should do this instead. And then it doesn't work, and it is quite deflating when you come up with a strategy, you come up with a concept, and they kind of mix it into their own corporate thing, and you kind of don't want to put your name next to it anymore, because this was not my idea. Right. So yeah, if a brand can bring something through to fruition that I've thought of, then it's successful.
I think when I started, success for me was just anything cool that happened. I mean, I was 14, right? So I was I post a video, and then I remember getting my first comment, and I was yo, I got a comment from a stranger, this is crazy. And then I remember when I had my dance channel, and I got an email from Britain's Got Talent.
Really?
Being hey, I was yo, this is great. Actually, never gonna do that. But and I was sorry,
we need a performance.
No,
I need to see.
I'm pretty sure they were yeah, they, he can embarrass himself on Britain's Got Talent. But every I think when I was first doing this, it was just the awe and wonder of anything that I would consider to be cool, right? And that was 1,000 different things, including just getting a follow back from someone I watched online. And that actually is in a weird way a full circle thing, because some of those things that I found cool actually were based in my own passion for the internet and creativity, and those are the things that have persisted in terms of how I would define success. I still think that when I get a follow back from someone whose work I respect greatly, that is still really a form of success that I appreciate, because I think in the past it might have been like, yo, like this famous person has followed me, they have loads of followers, but now it's not necessarily that, but it's someone whose craft I really appreciate, and I can see that they have a taste in art that I value, and then they have sort of recognized me as someone who's creating something that is valuable, and that feels like success to be co-signed by peers that you respect. And in the past it was like someone, I remember on YouTube you can see who the person with the most subscribers that has subscribed to you. And I remember when I was younger, I used to like look at that list like every week, like, oh, has that someone new followed me? But now it's actually more interesting because there'll be people in there that they might not have the most subscribers or whatever, but somewhere in that list will be people whose work you feel is really meaningful. And so that's like one version of success that's sort of persisted. But the version of success at the beginning that I think hasn't is, I remember when we would hit certain subscriber milestones and they never felt meaningful when we hit them. So in the abstract, they felt meaningful. So it was like, oh, we hit 100K subscribers and it's like, oh, this is so cool. But the moment we hit it, it actually didn't feel like anything. It just felt like it's just a normal day. And
even like the first 10 or even 100.
But that's still like, yo, this is so cool, 100 people. But then like when it starts to get into like the larger numbers, where it doesn't feel like every single extra subscriber is like significantly meaningful, like the 100K, the 500K, that type of thing, I realized that this is the number itself stopped meaning what I thought it would mean in my head. So I remember having a conversation with someone about hitting 1 million subscribers and how it's this huge milestone, but actually it's just another day. And the only thing that really changes is that people look at you differently because they go, damn, that guy's got 1 million subscribers. Whereas, and actually that comes with its own thing, because actually brands will then also look at you differently and be like, oh, he's got 1 million subscribers. Maybe we put an extra 0 on this brand deal. But like, the actual metrics of subscribers, I realized, did not mean as much as the idea of reaching that milestone. And the thing that really has, the way I define success now, is way more about aligning what I am doing with what I believe to be my purpose, and really doing stuff that feels meaningful to me. And the way I've sort of conceptualized it in my head is this concept of infinite games and finite games. I don't know if you guys are familiar. So a finite game is, the point of the game is to win the game. So it's like a goal, right? So get to 1 million subscribers. Once you hit that 1 million subscribers, you've won the game. So it's a finite game. You play it until you win. But an infinite game is a game that you play for the sake of playing it. And I think for me, as I've been doing this for 14 years now, I feel like the point of doing what I'm doing is actually just to continue doing it and enjoy that experience of creating art that is meaningful and aligned with what feels true to me, and also true to the people that I'm trying to reach. And that is the like form of success that is like way more persistent in my life now. And like, I mean, like, it's been a while since I've kept track of the metrics. Like, I actually don't know anymore, which is a privilege because I don't have to worry about the fluctuation of the numbers as much, just like from a bank account perspective, because I know that like things are more stable now. Yeah. But also I don't have to have the I don't play the finite game of let's get to the next number. Yeah.
Yeah, because it ties in with the dopamine hit of like, where's your dopamine hit in? Is it when you post, like when you finish the project, or is your dopamine hit during the process? And they always say, try and get your dopamine hit during the process because you'll continue. If your dopamine hit is when you've finished, you're then stuck at the, okay, what now? Whereas like if your dopamine hit is during the process and you're loving what you're doing, you then know, okay, I'm going to keep going at what I want to do. So that's a really good like point as well.
Yeah, the moment I realized I'd reached this realization was I worked on like a motion graphics animation for I was like doing it for like 14 hours like straight. I was just like there, like locked in. And then I get to the end of it and After Effects crashes. Okay. And I never saved the project. I didn't even like save it untitled 1, which means it didn't have any autosave. And the whole thing just like went to 0. Like nothing was saved. And in that moment, I actually did not feel any negative emotion because I was like, I had so much fun today. And I was like, I'll just do that again tomorrow. And like, I was like, that is the moment where I was like, yeah, I'm in it for just doing it. And yeah, I think you get way less cooked when your views are down because you're just like, I'm having fun. And like, hey, yeah. So yeah,
One trick that I do now is I post and dip.
Okay.
So I just post and then just come off my social media completely for about 2-3 hours. It sounds crazy, but it just means I'm not thinking about that video. I'm not thinking about the metrics. I'll reply to people later on during the day. But then my brain isn't tied to what metrics have I got. It's I've enjoyed this process. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't like it, and I've posted it now and like let it be, whatever will be. So that's kind of what I do now.
Okay, I'll be moderating segment 2. You did such a good job. I don't know if I'll be able to keep up, but when creating content as a team or building a campaign, does your workflow start with data or intuition?
So mine starts with intuition. I think the sensible answer would be to start it with data, but I think there's something special in the creator world where the data can be correct and it will tell you what does well, but I feel like you should use that later on in the process because intuition is what got us here in the first place. And that's what stops making things predictable. And it just helps keep creating fun as opposed to making it feel too corporate. Sometimes there are points where after the fact or after the month is done, I'll look back at the data and see what did well. And then that helps lead the intuition of the next round. But I keep it to intuition.
I'm exactly in the same boat. You started off with your intuition. It's usually strong. Your gut feeling is strong. Keep with that gut. I think it's good to back up intuition with data if like the brand isn't quite aligned or if they want a reasoning why. You can be like, well, this hook worked for like 5 other videos. I know this is going to work for this video, like intro. And I think as well, probably people get a bit nervous around like data. It can just be as simple as like this hook worked. That's data. Like you're receiving information. So it doesn't need to be as like complicated as what you think it is. But yeah, definitely start with intuition. You'll end up liking it more as well. And then also then just back it up with.
So because I'm a corporate girly, I unfortunately have to start with data when it comes to brands. But I do like understand that when you're just focused on data, you're looking from what historically works. You're not looking at what could work in the future. So what I try to do is when I look at data points and there's like a million that brands want you to present, because I feel like an influencer, even though brands are investing so much in it, you're constantly defending the industry and defending that this does work. You have to give the power to the influencers. But I start with data and I kind of reverse engineer, okay, if we wanted to replicate similar success from a campaign, here are like the platforms that work, here's the type of content that's super engaging, but it's not like a strict rule. It's something for them to know of, and then they can work off of that. I always say like you have to meet your campaigns where you have to meet your audience where they're at when you do campaigns. So it is nice to see the data to say, okay, well, this product that we want to promote is more around like Gen Z, and Gen Z live on TikTok. So it makes sense to do that. And then as a creator, I always go by intuition. I just do what I want, and I'm still like a small creator, so I have that flexibility, and I look at the data afterwards to see, okay, this type of content or this type of storytelling really resonates with my community. How can I continue on that path?
I think you've like hit the nail on the head. It probably depends on who you are. If you're like Mr. Beast, you're probably thinking data first and then intuition afterwards, or he's got like a bit of mix of both. And like with you being a corporate girly, is like, I know that this data is going to do well for strategic reasons. But like if you're a creator or a smaller one, you just want to have fun and enjoy it, and like the data can come a little bit afterwards. So it probably depends on where you are in your journey and like who you are as a person.
I think, yeah, for me it's like just completely vibes based. Like I just truly, I think we are at Answer in Progress. We have like complete faith that our curiosity will lead us to the place that is the most interesting, and that has worked for us like up until now. That's not to say that we don't use the data, but like my belief is sort of that like as creative people, we're like culturally sensitive people, and our like I think all humans are like data crunching machines just like intuitively, and so I think that our like when I say vibes based, like the vibes are the data to me, like and I don't think we look at the metrics as like we don't do statistical analysis, even though like half of our team studied economics, but like the vibes for us are like data in some ways, but we have like complete faith that our curiosity will lead us to places that are new, novel, and like successful and interesting, and so yeah, it depends on if you think the vibes are data or intuition, but
it's like chicken and egg almost.
Say again?
It's almost like chicken and egg. Like sometimes you'll go chicken, sometimes you go egg.
Yeah, I also think that I actually don't know what it's like on Instagram or TikTok, but on YouTube, I think that they give you a lot of data, and there is one way to look at the data, which is that it is objective fact, and the other is that you look at the data to try and understand the human being that the data represents. Because if someone is more interested in one video over another, there is a human being that is deciding that something is more interesting than something else, and trying to like empathize with who that person is and why they are interested in something else rather than something like a different video is, I think, quite a vibes-based, like imaginative process, but it is like responding to performance and data. So like, yeah, it's chicken and the egg.
What's one piece of content that you guys have created where it's like this was so intuition-based, but it's done so well?
Interesting. So it's somewhat hard to say because everything is vibe-based, but one of our most popular videos is called Your City is Full of Fake Buildings and Here's Why. And that video did really, really well. I think
I've seen that one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That video did really, really well, I think, for a couple of reasons, which was that when we discovered this fact, we were all excited, and like we were like, yo, this is crazy. Like there are oil rigs hidden inside of skyscrapers in LA. Like that is an insane thing. And like we're like talking about that, like sharing news articles. And it's like that conversation is like completely us being able to be sensitive to the vibes of like everyone right now in this conversation is lighting up because this is such an exciting discovery that we've made. And then like pursuing that and making the video is like generally how we work. So that one I would say is like very vibes based, and then it was reflected.
Mine would be my first viral piece on social media. It was Rihanna at the Super Bowl. I basically recreated Rihanna's performance, but put me there instead. So I was twerking my thing, getting it on. And what I didn't realize is it made me realize actually that the Super Bowl, obviously it's such a huge thing. You don't realize that like I wasn't doing it because I wanted to go viral. It was just everyone was talking about it. So I love the Super Bowl. Rihanna's one of my faves. So I've just done this video and now I'm like, hang on a minute. Why don't I now create videos based on current world situations of like what's happening now? And it kind of like put almost like a light bulb moment of like, duh, like people are talking about this, do a video on this. So I tried to connect music with, then going forward, I connected music with like my videos. And that was like almost like the data I got from that. Like people were talking about Super Bowl. They couldn't get enough of the Rihanna Brazil remix. Come on, but yeah, that one. Everyone was talking about it, so I'd like jumped on that. And then I was like, okay, let me jump on more trends that are like that, but make it my own. And that was like an accidental like moment, and that's what grew my following. And then from there, it's like continued.
And what about you? What piece of data that you've worked on a project that was like, this is like a gold mine that a brand can use in a campaign?
So I look at growth over scale. So when I look at metrics, for example, just to like keep it simple, like a creator's content will be evaluated on a metric that we call earned media value. And a lot of brands, they live and breathe by this metric. They're like, we will only do whatever to drive this metric. But what tends to happen are the biggest players in the industry dominate at the top in terms of conversation and the value of the conversation just because they have the budget and scale. So what I like to do is, in return, just look at which brands, even though they're smaller in scale, are actually growing because they're probably doing something very interesting and new and innovative that we can look into and kind of break down a little bit. And that's how I find trends, and that's how I realize like, oh, okay, TikTok is big, but Substack is coming in as like a completely new way of engaging with your community. And then it's up to the brands. And also, sometimes I just use data. I go by intuition, and then I use data to manipulate and say like, oh yeah, my intuition is right because of all of these data points, just to build a case. And that's sometimes what strategy is about. So
What's manipulation?
Gaslighting.
What's earned media value?
So earned media value, different companies have different definition or different ways of calculating it. The company I work for pioneered the metric, and it pretty much assigns value to a mention of a brand. So it could be any mention from a creator, from a publication, anything that's not the brand's own mention of themselves. So if you, for example, if I mention Rode, then that post will be assigned a value. And that value is based on not just the platform that you post on, but it's also based off of the engagements that you get. So you're on YouTube, you would automatically get assigned a higher baseline value because YouTube is much more complex and your audience is much more engaged on that platform. And then from there, we look at engagements. Are you just getting views or are you getting comments, et cetera? And then we weight that to get earned media value for a post, which then you can aggregate and look at it from a platform perspective. So for example, for Rode, how much of the value from their creators are coming from TikTok versus Instagram? So that's scale, just looking at the value itself. But then it's like which ones are actually growing year over year to identify trends.
So it's like if you've got the source or not. That's like kind of what it is.
Pretty much, yeah.
How about you?
Oh, when it was intuition, I think this was one of my first viral videos that changed the trajectory of my creative career as well. I was probably like 17 at the time, and people had started using the Facetune app to like edit their pictures. And I did a YouTube video debunking how people are editing their pictures to make them look a certain way. So I was actually just like, this is how people make their butt bigger. And then I'd like expand it. This is how people make their waist slimmer. Push it in.
Guilty.
And then and then like whitening the walls and everything. Then people were just like going crazy in the comments about how people are actually doing this. And I think that video did just under 1 million views on YouTube. And then that grew my Instagram following at the time. And then that was just me being like, people are not real, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What tools, apps, platform systems, or frameworks do you find indispensable right now to your workflow?
I love Monday.com. Not an ad plug
I'm a
or
Monday.com
anything.
hater. Hater. Notion all the way.
I feel like the Notion is so broad to me. But I do use it sometimes. But Monday, I find that with this like work, I don't know, creative work sometimes is hard to put on paper because it's like, I need to do this thing, I need to do this thing, I need to do this thing. And everything just feels a little bit all over the place. But just being able to see it in like almost an Excel sheet and put it in a status of what needs to be done, what part of the pie is. I've only started using it for the last 3 months, so this is very new to me. But it just helps like put everything into something that I can measure, because I feel like sometimes at the end of the week, I'm so burnt, but I don't know what I did. But I can look back at like everything that I've done so far, and I'm like, oh, okay, like there's been some output here. So I'd say as an app, Monday.com. When it comes to mental frameworks, that's like mental health stuff, right? Like not an actual tool. Okay. Yeah. I think similar to what you guys were saying earlier about how we define success, I've really had to learn how to completely detach from the numbers or the rate of growth, because I think social has changed so much since starting, and I think how viewers work on YouTube and how before TikTok was a thing, YouTube views used to often translate into Instagram growth, or like a lot of people would cross over because it was this new thing that people were discovering. They're just finding their favorite creators. It wasn't really like a model yet. And because I'm used to that old way of doing things, now things feel slower, especially because the Instagram algorithm has changed. Like if I look at my pictures from or content from 5 years ago, they would perform on paper so much better, but that's because it was a completely different industry at the time. So now it's just completely detaching from what things used to look like and being comfortable that it's completely changing. And I think there's comfort in something that you were saying earlier about the fact that you've been doing this for 14 years, or that you know you're going to be doing it for the next 14 years. It actually doesn't matter how much you grow in a year, because I'm going to be here for 20 more years, so everyone can take their time. So yeah, I think it's just detaching from how fast am I growing right now and just looking at how much fun am I having doing this? Is it fulfilling to me? As opposed to, did this one post do everything I needed it to do to feel successful? Yeah.
For me, the tools, because I come from more of a creative background, I'm less like spreadsheets and, I would say even just Canva. That sounds like kind of wild, but I do so much in Canva. I pitch, I do team decks, even just, we were discussing something that we want to do with our creators. It's all going to be in Canva, which isn't like the most like nuanced question, but it's Canva. And then also from a mental framework, I think I touched on it before. It's just the amount of like pre-production is done beforehand. Again, before we go on set with like Boulder or like for me, everything's in a Canva doc. So you've got your model, what they're wearing, what makeup they've got, what location we're going to. Like everyone can see this whole documentation, and depending on who's working on it with the team can like obviously edit. So they'll see everything that needs to be done. They'll have animatics, which is basically stuff that is already pre-filmed, exactly like what we're gonna film it on the day, so it's ready. So I do a lot of Canva work and just making sure the pre-production is just so then nothing can go wrong, but it's like if something does go wrong, it's okay because we've got structure to bring us back. Whereas I think I've done it before where we've gone on set or shoot, it's less like planned, and it can get really messy really quick. So just making sure your pre-production is down as good as possible. And even if you're doing a small shoot, even if you're just doing, but like if you're doing a YouTube video just on by yourself, writing that structure down, even in bullet points or whatever, just to make sure you know what you're talking about rather than blabbering on, is always helpful.
I'm actually going to reflect the like simple tool idea, because I think I've used complicated tools for a lot of things, but I call it like zero brain cell filmmaking, where like there are certain times where I need to do like animated handwriting, and it's way easier if I just screen record my iPad in Procreate or something, rather than trying to go into After Effects and like do all the layer paths and everything like that. Yeah. And like I've always had a bias towards literally what is the simplest way to do this. Like some of my first ever YouTube videos, literally videos I've ever made, I edited in PowerPoint, because I didn't know about video editing software, and in PowerPoint you can put a slide and then have a clip there, and you can trim the clip, and then if you want another clip, you just make another slide and put the clip there. So I'm really like, pro, like literally just use the simplest tool available to you. But yeah, I think the one tool that's completely indispensable for me is Notion. Notion is like the bedrock of everything that we do at Answer in Progress. And also, I've used all the tools. I've used Monday.com. Hate them compared to Notion. But
today's sponsor, Monday.com.
I think for me, like the thing that I love about Notion is the fact that it's extremely scalable for different types of teams. Because when I was just me and I was just working on my own stuff, I could use my Notion workflows, and someone else coming into the team doesn't have to use my workflow in Notion. If they want to, they can build their own way of visualizing the same data. And that's the thing that I think Notion is really good at, is it's like Lego for the whole team, where people have built their own dashboards that look completely different from mine, and they can interact with the production calendar, the to-dos, and all the other stuff in it that we need to communicate. And then in terms of mental frameworks, it's kind of two that I love. One is super simple, which is you can do anything. Like today I'm doing 9 to 5. Tomorrow I could do like 12-hour days every single day. Like I could just change my entire life tomorrow. And like the you can do anything mindset is like something that I really, really hope I don't lose, because I think when you are younger and you're like new, you don't know any of the like industry norms or whatever, and you just do it the way that feels right to you. And then you get you spend more time in the industry and you get people saying, no, well, this is industry standard. And I kind of hate anytime someone says this is industry standard, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to me, but I guess it's industry standard. Now I'm like, well, the industry is bad. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I can confirm industry standards never make sense.
Right. So like, exactly. I'm like, you can do anything, and you should do the thing that's better, because industry standard is another way of saying like average. I'm like, okay, but I'm not trying to do the average thing. I'm trying to do something better. And then the second one is more of a like maybe a little bit nerdier, which is asymmetric opportunity. Is like, once I learned what this meant, I was like, it just changed my life. Which is, there are opportunities where the risk and the reward are pretty similar. And there are other opportunities where you have to take huge risks for not that much reward. And then there are some opportunities where the risk is extremely low and the opportunity is extremely high. And those are risks that you should be taking all of the time, because there's very little risk for how big of a reward you can get. And when you are, let's say, when you have like no followers and you're just like literally just starting, the opportunity is completely asymmetric, because no one is going to see your content if it's bad, and if it's good, everyone will see it, and it can change your life. So like, just post stuff even if it's bad. The asymmetric opportunity is so huge. So I always try and find asymmetric opportunities even now, and really pursue those.
Yeah, I use Notion. I love Notion. Not just like at my current job, but when I was in Toronto building my brand, Notion was everything to me. Like, I would journal on Notion about how my day went, like pitching to like PR agencies about having like new Prologue's first article out for the brand, or even with my skincare brand, I wanted it to be interactive. So I started learning and teaching myself Blender and building the brand out through like interactive assets. So I was using Blender a lot, bringing that over to Notion to see, okay, I did this project for the launch campaign. Like, I built a digital, like, kind of like a video game website where you could enter and you could actually shop the product through this like virtual 3D store that I created. And that, yeah, Notion was everything from project management to like assessing how I'm feeling that day, and just feeling like I am making progress, because sometimes you can, again, go through the whole week and be like, where did I even do anything? And especially when you're taking on a big endeavor like starting a brand, there's so many different milestones that you're hitting in a week that you sometimes forget. But I was curious what everyone's thoughts were on AI tools, because as a creator, that is controversial. So
I would say that I'm like pro AI. I know there's people like, I hate it, never use it, it crashes your brain. But I think it can be something that furthers your own way of thinking, or like helps your curiosity build. And I think if you're doing this as a job and you're week in, week out, you're coming up with a bunch of ideas, and you get to a point where you're like, I don't actually know what to do today, or like my brain's a little bit fried, you can put all the ideas that you've done before into a tool like ChatGPT, and then say, I don't know what to do this week. Use everything that I've done before. This is what did well. This is what didn't do so well. What should I do this week? And it just helps translate those ideas. And then it could be something really simple that you just never thought of. And that week, you just happen to rely on something else to help you ideate, especially if you're a team of one and you're kind of doing a little bit of everything. I personally love it to just help me push things along or do certain things faster. I find that because as a team of one, a lot of your admin tasks take up so much time and just like bog you down and take up so much brain capacity that could be spent doing something more creative, that using it to just do the simple things saves my life. Everyone's like, oh, don't write an email with it, you'll forget how to write emails. And I'm like, I'm so sure I won't forget.
Also, all right, I'm happy to forget how to write emails. I'd love to never write an email in my life ever again. But anyway.
Yeah, it's just a tool at the end of the day. And I feel like with things like ChatGPT, it's only as good as the person that's like inputting info.
Exactly.
So if you're inputting it in a way and taking a different perspective out of what it's pushing out, then I think that's where magic happens and you save yourself time too.
What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm pro AI if it's just used correctly and well. There's a lot of like destruction with it. Like I'm still unsure about what my feelings are. I will say it's sped up a lot of things for us and me. It's helped with a lot of things as well. I just think, don't be 100% reliant on it. Like use your brain that got you there in the first place and try and use it as a resource.
Yeah, I would say I don't use AI tools very much. I think the main things that I've used AI tools for are generally grunt work and things. So that's the primary thing. And then the other thing that I have found it to be really useful for is what I call fuzzy search, which is like, what's that guy who was in that one thing? Which can be really good for the type of stuff we do. Sometimes you'll read like 25 academic articles in a day and you're like writing a video and then you know it's in one of these 25, but you're just like, okay, it was like, this is what the point was and I don't know exactly what it was, and it was very easy to find that material again. Outside of that, like I've not found too many creative uses for it or ways to ideate, primarily because I find that with AI tools, like what they are like these LLMs are like they're averaging machines, right? So these technology companies are putting everything into it and saying, predict what the next word should be when they're writing out a sentence. And the good thing about that is it's always going to be pretty good, but inherently what these aggregators are doing is that they are averaging out all of the inputs that are given to the model and then outputting the optimal mean, so the optimal average of all of the data that's been inputted. But to me, that actually, what that does is it raises the floor of how bad things can be. So things are getting better from like the lowest quality level, because I think the AI can help anyone get to average, but to get above that, I think it requires like an atypical way of thinking or like a level of creativity. So like I actually don't worry about the best output coming from human creativity, but there are areas in which I'm actually okay with average, such as
an email.
Yeah.
Some emails, like some emails actually no, right? Because I want to be able to pitch a compelling story about the brand that I'm working with or whatever. Those are emails where I'm like, I actually want to take the care to like write that. But definitely like, just like, here's a bunch of data that I like downloaded off the YouTube dashboard. Can you just like figure out if there's an outlier? I actually just want the average version of that. Like I don't want to whip out my economics textbook and figure that out. So like but to me that's grunt work, right? It's like any work that I could accept an average quality level, that's okay. But anything that I feel like is my craft, that I'm not trying to even be close to the 50% mark. I want to be really at the top of that game. And I think that inherently the way that these models are designed, they are trying to give you a pretty, like something that converges to the mean. So Yeah, that's kind of how I think about them.
In a world where short form is booming, how do you decide when long form is still the right strategy?
I think that with this one, it's interesting because I feel like as creatives, we often feel like because this thing exists, we should be on it, we should be using it. And as someone who started in long form and then just like natural life growth of like having less time, starting to work, etc., short form made more sense. And now going back to long form is just like an answer to my inner child. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer of which one to use. It's just which one makes the most sense for your creator model, what exactly is that you're doing. And if short form is the thing that makes the most sense for you and the thing that you love doing, you can put all your eggs in different parts of that basket. And if long form is the thing that makes the most sense to you, then all your eggs should be there. Like you were saying that you don't do short form, but that's worked for you for 14 years, whereas someone else might have just done short form. So I don't think you have to decide based on the trend of where things are going, just more so what's your own plan of where things are going.
Yeah, I agree. I think when I think of long form, I don't just think of like how long that piece of content is on that channel, but I think about how it allows you to own the conversation with your audience. So when I think of long form, I also think of Substack. I'm not sure if that counts, but your email like newsletter, subscribing to someone and electing to like get more intimate with that creator through their work is long form for me. And I think it helps like someone like me, for example. I love short form. It's like the only thing I can do in my world of like working and also creating content right now. So short form is great, but then I want to own those conversations. So then when I took my community to Discord, that's what I kind of considered not long form content, but it's now a way for me to own my conversations with my community outside of an algorithm that's going to choose if I'm good this week or not.
I don't know. I might oppose. I feel like it is true. It depends on who you are as a person and where you want to be. If short form works for you, that's great. If long form works for you, that's great. But there is time and time again where there's like proof that long form connects much better than short form. I feel like short form is for reach and then long form is for connection. Whereas, I mean, I don't know the actual stats, so I'll have to get the stats at a certain point. But they say that between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, of like why a lot of the votes went to Donald Trump, and they were saying, well, you know, there's a whole thing behind it. But one of the reasons was that he actually came onto podcasts a lot, and his actual long form content was tenfold of what Kamala was. Like, I think she did, 10 hours worth of long form content or something like 7 hours, whereas Donald Trump did, I can't remember the actual exact like stats, but he did ridiculous amounts of long form content, and that connected his audience more. And so it's just really interesting to be like, depending on where you are in your journey, I would say is when you should decide whether to go into long form. I think it's easier to start with short form. But yeah, just be true to you and like just see if can I make this into a longer form situation, and if not, then don't bother, because you're just gonna burn out and waste your time. But if it does naturally evolve into long form, I would definitely say just try it. A bit like what you were saying, when you're an earlier content creator, you're just like, let's just try it, let's just see whether it works. So
yeah, I totally agree with that. I think for me, long form versus short form, it's like whatever makes you feel alive, man. Like because I haven't found a version of short form that really sparks joy in the way that long form does for me. So like I don't have a reason to be on short form right now, but if I was to find something that makes me feel as excited as long form, then I would do that. But I have friends who are exclusively short form creators, and sometimes they'll be like, yeah, like, man, I need to get on long form, and I'm like, why? And they're like, well, it's, you know, my manager's saying this or blah, blah, blah. And when I ask them, like, what's the thing that they love the most? And it's like, they love their short form, and they maybe have tried long form, and it just doesn't feel right for them. And I'm very, again, like, it's just vibes based for me, but like if it feels alive and aligning with my purpose, then like I'm down to clown. But if not, like long form versus short form, that's the strategy is always have fun. So yeah.
Also, just from a brand perspective, what I see brands asking me about a lot is, okay, we're most of our strategies between Instagram and TikTok. How do we get on YouTube, or like how do we start monitoring conversations from podcasts and Substack? And I think again, they're kind of like, they know that long form matters, and someone's told them that it's important to make sure you diversify the conversation that's happening. But I don't think anyone has like 100%, like a brand that I work with, committed to investing 100% into one content type versus the other. They're still experimenting. So I do feel like there's a lot of growth opportunities within long form outside of YouTube, like Substack, for brands to experiment on, because that's like where a highly engaged community comes from.
Yeah, I also wanted to say like that I think the reason I like really focus on the like whatever makes you feel alive part is because I really think that with all content stuff, you sort of build the prison you have to live in. So like if you decide to make a strategic decision to go in a direction where you're making a bunch of long form but you don't love it, that will feel like a prison. But if you go into it because it makes you feel alive, it will just feel like an infinite space to play. And like that, I think, is actually a smart longevity strategy. Like I can't do this for 14 years if I'm only making like pragmatic business decisions, because then I'll be doing short form for the past 5 years and not loving it. So yeah, that was the all right, strategy and audience growth. What are some strategic ways that you've shifted your audience growth thinking from followers to engaged communities?
I feel like we've touched on this a little bit in our earlier conversations, but like how I've seen just my experience on TikTok is, before you would post, go viral, get a bunch of followers, and then like you can continue on that path. But now with there being so much content everywhere you go, it's harder to, you have to do more to earn that follower. So I don't think, when I think of audience growth, I think of, again, like how my community is engaging with me. Are they just like viewing and liking, or are they actually interacting, sharing, like sending me messages about my content? So I don't really focus too much on followers anymore, even for my brands. And that's how the industry is changing now, because 5 or 10 years ago, it was all about, we have to work with the biggest creator with the biggest follower count. But now with TikTok and Instagram changing the algorithm, it's not about the followers, it's about the type of content you make and who that reaches. Just generally, you could be someone like me who had 0 followers, started TikTok the day after recovering from COVID, and then just getting like followers from there because the content resonated. So now a lot of brands are thinking about, let's not worry too much about followers. We want to see the content first, and and it's creator led. So that's what I think is happening in the industry.
I think I've definitely seen a big change when I started asking the question of like how much do I love this content versus how much value is this bringing to the person watching it. And it is for the reason of, it's a completely different world now where there's so much content online and so much that people could choose to watch. And if I continue to look at it from the perspective of, oh, this is nice, pretty content to look at, let me post that, versus how much is this helping people? I've seen the numbers of the ones that are helping people and the ones that give people information that they need for themselves is the one that's the most saved or the most commented on, because audiences now have the ability to pick very carefully what they want to consume, and everyone wants to consume something that's going to better their own daily life as opposed to just something to look at. And since doing that, it's changed to just being a more engaged community.
I think it's very easy for someone that is giving like information-based content to grow audiences. For me, my personal one is more entertainment. Like I would be classed as, I wouldn't say entertainment, but it is more classed as entertainment. So like, what value do I give to that person? It's more entertainment. So for me, what I shifted was my hook of like, how do I get them involved in and engaged? So I used to do a thing, and it started actually, I think, from the Rihanna days, bringing that back. Was I started off by doing actually a comment where it was like, oh, I bet bro can't do XYZ. And one, I find it hilarious because I'm the least bro person you will ever meet. I'm definitely not a bro. I just love the juxtaposition of like saying bro and then I was like twerking on camera. Like, it's just that's like silliness. And then, but it also then ramped up the engagement of people were saying, oh, do this artist next, do this song next. Like, I would literally get so many comments and messages, DMs saying like requesting what they wanted. So I think if you are more of an entertaining kind of person, how do you get your followers engaged and involved? That can be from a hook. That could be you're winning something at the end of it. So I could say if I was to do something with Rihanna in like later on down the line, I could be like, well, like one lucky winner could win a chance to come with me on set with Rihanna, for example. Things like that. Speaking into fruition, no, manifestation. Yeah, so it's just things like that. Like, how can you cleverly engage your audience where then they slowly become a community and they don't realize it's not like you're trying to manipulate them in any way, but it's just you're slowly bringing them in to that way. That's probably how an entertaining person would do it. And I can only speak from that side of things. I'm slowly trying to go into more content that is got, I don't know how you would say this, but like a bit more value to it, let's just say. So it's like, that is just a complete different side of things.
Yeah. I would almost argue that whether it's information-based content or entertainment, you're still providing value to like the audience in the same way where they're going to engage, because entertainment, like we like look at the world we live in, I feel like escapism is it's so nice to just escape for a second, and that is what I get when I see content that's really entertaining and fun to watch. So and I feel like that works a lot. Again, with the brands that I work with, I analyze a lot of what content tends to get a lot of engagements and different types of engagement, and it's like the value that you drive, whether that's informational based or entertainment based.
Yeah, I think the word value can often be like, we see it as one way, but it could be as simple as, for example, you saying that people commenting was your hook. That's the value in it, because people feel like their voice is heard. So for me, I used to post outfit videos or outfit pictures, but then I started asking people what I should have done better with my outfit, and then that got way more engagement than me just sharing it. So it's like the fact that I gave them the platform to share their own opinion was the value in it, as opposed to it being like, oh, you should wear blue with blue, if that makes sense. Yeah.
For me, I would say, like I would say that we make entertainment content in the sense that the information, it's factual entertainment, so it's about exploring our curiosity and making videos that ask questions and then documenting the journey from question to answer. That's sort of answer in progress. So like, I think we think of ourselves as entertainment primarily, because none of the information that we are exploring is really like useful information necessarily. It's not a utility-based thing. You know, like no one really needs to know why everyone was forced to learn the recorder in school, but it's an interesting question that we explored, and like that's something that we're interested in. And so like for us, I think the value and the thing that has, the way we think about sort of engagement is all around whether or not it aligns with the mission and the purpose of Answer in Progress, which is to celebrate the journey of curiosity, regardless of if it's an important question or not. The thing that we are trying to celebrate is curiosity in itself, and that is when we feel like we've made something that's super meaningful and hits that, then I feel like we're also serving our audience in a way that feels like an act of love, because the types of people that we are trying to make this for are the types of people who are incredibly curious people who maybe went to university and were kind of beaten up by the system of exams, and while they're super intelligent and curious people, they end up funneling down this road of exams and then prestigious career path, and they're sort of working like 80-hour weeks, and they still have this curious child in them that they want to explore and like have time to like nerd out over different things, but they don't have the time to do that. And so what we give them is sort of like an act of love from us in terms of like gifting them an opportunity to watch a video that maybe can give them that in their day. Like what we like to do is make maybe like a video that they could watch on their lunch break or something. And that, to me, when we do that really well, that's when we are sort of like, we're reaching the audience that we're trying to serve in a way that makes them feel like they were served with something that they felt like is meaningful. And when that happens, that's when I feel like we are like in company with them in a community, rather than trying to figure out trying to like look at the metrics of followers. But that being said, I think that all of that, the metric of follower is somewhat important in the sense that if someone decides to click follow, that is a meaningful measure of someone who has been moved to do something, right? So if we put a video out and it gets 1 million views, but no one subscribes from that video, I don't think that's necessarily a failure of a video. But if a ton of people subscribe, I'm not excited about it because we've got a bunch more subscribers. I'm actually more excited about it because people have found what we've made to be meaningful enough that they want to see more. And so to me, that's what the follower signal is. And then over time, obviously the follower kind of gets old, and so like maybe they no longer find it meaningful if they haven't continued to watch videos. But like that's kind of how we think about our audience. All right, so segment 4. Okay, so money and business models. What's a payment structure you wish more brands adopted, and why? This is T.
Do you want to go first?
Pay your creators sooner. Some payment structures, I've had contracts, and I still have contracts that are paying creators after 90 days. I think that's ridiculous. You would never go to a shop and buy a bun. That up north, that's like is it bun down here? Cob? What is it, bread? what is it? What's the south version of cob? Bun. Okay. Yeah. You wouldn't buy a bun down here and be like, oh, I'll pay you in 90 days. Like, pay your creator within the 30 days, I think. Or, for instance, I can only obviously talk from me personally, but I put a lot of time and money into the production side. So a lot of my actual budget goes towards production, and the client knows that, so we get like bigger budget. But the problem is I don't get that budget to go towards pre-production and production. So that's coming out of my own pocket or my management's pocket. And then the brand will eventually pay that 90 days later. So you're left spending thousands of pounds on this production, but you're waiting to be paid again. And like, if you're just starting out, that's like actually crazy, because I can't even imagine what it would be like as a creator. You're trying to go full time and you're waiting 90 days. That's 3 months. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, that is kind of crazy. So, you don't allow it in other places. So I just think they need to be paid quicker. Or if it is a creator that is putting money down for pre-production or post-production, then maybe pay them 50% of the wage so they're secured. And then it becomes more of a like collaboration thing, because it feels quite transactional. Like, no, we're not going to give you the money until 90 days. Mm-hmm. Actually, no, you're collaborating. I can now invest that money that you've given me for that project. It's not going to anything else but the project. It's a collaboration, and everyone's happy then.
I want to just quickly add to something to that, which is if you're a British creator working with a British brand, you have rights. Like, mm-hmm. There is something called the Late Payments Act. You can put it at the bottom of your invoice. I did it for years when I was a smaller creator. Obviously, when you're working with like international brands, like you have less rights, but whatever. But the Late Payments Act is effectively, unless they include it in their contract, 90 days. If they don't include it, they can't actually pay you with 90 days, because you have rights that you are paid within 30 days, or you have the ability to charge. I think it's like, don't quote me, but something like £30 plus the Bank of England base rate of interest every 30 days. And what I found is I was always paid on time, because I put that at the bottom of my invoice. I cited the law, and I said, like, by the way, if you don't pay me in the 30 days, then I charge that. There was one time where I sent the second invoice with the additional interest, and on that day, as soon as I sent it, they paid me the original invoice, and I was like, I'll let it slide. Like I got my money, and it was only 31 days, but you know, that's just knowledge. Like now you know it. You can put it at the bottom of all your invoices, and you'll just get paid. They will try to put it in the contract, and that is, I think that does like supersede the law. But I've found that sometimes, I mean, I just have it as default on my invoices. So even if it's in the contract, the payments team don't know what my contract is. Sometimes if it's a big enough brand, they'll just be like, oh my God, this guy knows what he's talking about. We'll pay him in 30 days anyway. So that's just a way to get paid.
Nothing to add. I think it is either 50 upfront so that it goes towards the production of the content, or pay it in 30 days. I feel like if I see 30 days now in a contract, it's actually more surprising, because now it's like 45, 60, 90, which is insane. But yeah, nothing to add to that one.
I haven't really had experience in this before, but from what I've observed is creators are partners. So one, I feel like brands, they leverage creators when it benefits them, but then when you look at the system of payment, they're not really taking it seriously, that partnership, once they get what they want out of it. And I think this is a symptom of the bigger problem in the industry, where creators are just something that's temporary. It's there when you want to leverage it, and then you can just forget about it once it's done. And I don't think that works, because that's not how long-term relationships work. Like if you think about dating, like and we talk a lot about this at work, but like when you're dating someone, the first way to capture their attention is like you gift them, you have like a long, and then you kind of get to know if they like your product, if they like to speak about you more authentically, and then from there you go through more of a longer term relationship where you're like dating them and you're taking it seriously. So if creators are such an important part of a brand's ecosystem, which it is, they should show that through how they're paying their creators, not just through like performance structure, but I think they should also pay them through like a base structure as well, like to de-risk creators from feeling so at risk of like the performance. Because again, we're at the mercy of an algorithm. Sometimes you can create really great content that does really well. Other times you create really great content that doesn't, and there's no rhyme or rhythm to it. So to continue to power this economy, we need to nurture creators as we would any other partner within that's so important to these brands.
Preach.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, when evaluating deals, what are some non-negotiables that you ask for?
So, do you know what? I think it's based on what you're saying. I actually don't tend to have many or any non-negotiables other than like standard fee, etc., etc. And it's because it is an imbalanced relationship where you almost feel at mercy to the brand. So it's whatever they say goes, and you're just going along with it. Obviously, when it comes to things like usage rights, payment, and standard things, but there's nothing customized that feels like it can be done oftentimes, because it almost feels like you're being summoned. Like it can be very quick, like, oh, we need this by next week, here's a product, here's a brief, do whatever. And you don't really get much of a voice in that. There's some really nice brands that they want to do a briefing call and they ask you for your ideas and they want to hear what you have to do, but those feel so rare that now it's just like you almost have to accept how the brands come to you. Yeah.
I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit.
Well.
I'm sorry. I would say I think this is like something I've learned over time, which is that I actually do think that everything in the contract is negotiable if they actually want to work with you. If you're just another number on a spreadsheet with some followers, then like sure, they'll just move on to the next person, and maybe sometimes you just have to be strategic about like which ones you're like willing to just take the contract as it is. But from my experience, I've never not been able to just ask for certain things to be changed, and I've gotten better at asking and how I ask, and generally the framing that I have is help me help you. I'm like, how can I make the best content for you when this is in the contract? Because I'm trying to win for you, but this is hampering my ability to do so. So for example, something like like usage rights is something that all brands are just trying to keep in their contracts. And so for context, usage rights generally are basically like, hey, you're going to make this piece of content, and if it's really compelling, we kind of want to like put a bunch of money behind it and throw it up as an Instagram ad for everyone to see, and they can make literally millions and millions of pounds off your sponsorship, and you won't see any of that. And like the framing around that is like, look, I want to make something that is incredible so that you can have extremely high ROI on that, but I want to be incentivized to make something good enough for you to use for your usage rights, and because of that, I want to be cut into that. Or you just say like usage rights isn't on the table. That's the one thing that I usually have as a non-negotiable is take usage rights out, or say usage rights are allowed, but it's a separate contract, which has happened to us all of the time. But I think that usage rights is one of those ones where if you don't really know what they are, like you can really just like let it slide. But I think it's a massive risk to you and your brand, because I have a friend who, I won't name the friend or the brand, but he did an ad, and then they put like literally, we found out through some back channels, they literally put millions of dollars behind this, and it was on everyone's feed for a year. And everyone got it, and everyone was like, "Yo, you must be making so much money off this brand," and he got none of it. But we know, because through back channels, that they put millions and millions of dollars behind it, because every time they would push this ad, they would make profit. And you can do percentage deals. I just want 5%, 10%, 20% of whatever money you put behind the ad. Now, a lot of people won't go for that because they don't want to tell you how much money they're going to put behind it, but it's the one thing that I would put as a non-negotiable, because the brand risk is, now you're associated with this brand. What if that brand gets cancelled? You've been the face of that brand for a year on Instagram. And yeah, so I think it's a massive brand risk for you as a creator, because you lose control over where that content goes.
Yeah. On top of usage rights, I would say seeing the brief before you sign the contract, the amount of clients that, especially the quick turnaround, like, we've got a week to do this, like, you sign the contract, it's not happened to me, but they want you to sign the contract before seeing the brief. It's like, wait, let me just see this brief, let me digest it first and then sign it. So I would say the brief as well.
Yeah, especially if brands say, we've got a week to do this. I'm like, no. You've got a week to do this. I haven't signed anything yet, so I've got no time to do this. That's how I operate, is they want to create this artificial or real urgency, but unless I've signed it, I'm actually not on the hook for anything. And so yeah, I'm very much an advocate of seeing the contract, seeing the brief before I sign anything.
Not really much to add here. I just learned over time, like someone had told me early on in my career, when you're evaluating any kind of contract, think about what that contract is actually communicating to you. Do they respect your time? Do they respect your energy? Is it showing in the terms? Because I think a contract does position itself in very like complex legal terms, how someone sees you. And yeah, I think
I also think this is actually a fairly good use of AI. If you don't understand something in the contract, copy and paste it into AI and be like, explain this to me like a 5-year-old. I think that in the past, maybe people were a bit too embarrassed to be like, hey, what does brand usage mean? And if, it's much easier now because you can just have it be translated.
And that's why as well, I think it can be important to make sure, if you are thinking about being signed as a creator, to make sure that talent management and agency are good at doing that and making sure that they're advocating for you through that, and making sure that you're seeing contracts and seeing what's about that contract, because the amount of creators that I've heard of that don't actually see their contracts even though they're signed to talent agencies is kind of crazy. So yeah, if you are a content creator, make sure you're seeing all your contracts as well.
All right. So in your view, what is a sustainable mix of income for a creator today, and how do you approach that?
I feel like multiple revenue streams. I'm starting to see creators do this, but get more into brand consulting. I think that's super cool. hosting events with their community. I think that's really cool. So kind of de-risking, again, having all of their eggs in one basket with content and being at the mercy, again, of these really big brands. Yeah, finding other income streams like consulting or eventing.
I would say try and not rely on brand deals as much as you can. Like, they're great to start off with, but then we're seeing a big rise in creator entrepreneurs. We're seeing a big rise in creators that are building brands and companies themselves. So it's about, or like they have their own like merch, for instance, but like it's about what's the next option, and the brand deals will help to get to that point. And then it's about how do you try and get as many income streams as you can. But I would say as well with that is not to rush all those income streams, because you will burn out and you won't be able to do it all at once. So once you're, say, brand deals is the first income stream, which it probably is for like 99% of people, then it would be, or if like you start on YouTube, it might actually be AdSense. And then once that starts generating and coming in, then you move on to your next piece and what makes the most sense for you in that point of time. I think it's different for everyone, but try and diversify as much as possible.
For me, the main thing that I always ask, I don't know if at different points that there's been a different income mix for us, but for me the question I'm always asking is, what am I trying to diversify against? So you are when you're diversifying you're trying to diversify against some sort of risk. And I see this happen, and I did it myself in the past, which is I feel like I'm diversified, but actually all of this income comes from the same place. So for example, brand deals and AdSense are actually both coming from brands. And so when there's an economic downturn, people spend less, brands then spend less on marketing, and both AdSense and brand deals go down at the same time. And so I'm actually diversifying against nothing, because they're both just different fonts of the same money. And that's the question I'm always asking myself: what risk am I diversifying against? So people might go onto different platforms in order to diversify against certain things. So for example, someone being on Instagram and someone being on TikTok, like you're really diversifying against the geopolitics of whether or not America is going to love China and TikTok and all of that stuff, right? That's a way that you could diversify against those two things. But having a clear understanding of what risk you're diversifying against is, I think, a really great way of just thinking about your income mix. All right. Okay, so how do you think contracts should evolve in the creator economy?
I think this is based on what I was saying before, that oftentimes you feel at mercy to the brand. And I would love to see a structure where just as much as the brand comes with their contract for you to sign, you have a contract for them to either sign or renegotiating or collaborating or editing the same document. So, for example, they might put that you can't delete the content for 12 months, or you can never delete the content. However, if something happens with the brand and they get cancelled, I would love to be able to put a clause in that says, if you do something that's going to mess up my brand, I can remove that piece of content and put out a statement against you, or however you want to word that. But I feel like currently it is very much that the brand decides the contract. You can change one or two things, but they do make you feel like you're almost bothering them to change things. And I just love to see a world where it was more collaborative and they actually saw you as a partner and value that relationship enough to make sure that you were fully comfortable with how things are said.
Yeah, the one word that changed my life when it came to this was the word reciprocal, because there's a bunch of things that brands will put in their contract, which is like, you know, like you said, if you get cancelled, like they can delete the content, or you can't delete the content, and all this other stuff. And the fastest way I found to change contracts, because the thing is, like, look, the person who's dealing with you is not the lawyer, and they're like, I don't want to talk to the legal team, like I'm just going to say no to them. Like that's generally what's happening. Like, but one thing that I found has had a lot of success is just commenting, hey, can we get clause 7, 11, and 14 to be reciprocal? And they generally have an easier time internally being like, hey, is it cool if we make these 3 clauses reciprocal? And the lawyers go, yeah, that's fine. And so just asking for reciprocity, which is basically just, if this is like, if you're saying if you get cancelled, we can delete the content. I want to know that if I get cancelled, you can, it's just like flipped. And so it's an easy way to get equality within certain clauses that we found a lot of success in.
Okay, section 5, challenges and culture. Do you think there's a structural or mindset challenge in the creator economy right now, and does anything need to change?
I can answer this again from the brand side. So I genuinely feel like there is a shift right now in the creator economy for brands. We're at an inflection point where it's not about working with more creators or finding more creators, finding different posts or finding different channels. It's actually about building that infrastructure within the company to ensure that they're able to scale and unlock more budget to invest in influencer marketing. Because what's happening is that brands see that influencer and creator marketing is very powerful for them. They were able to secure a lot of investment. Like, we've seen it double over just the last 2 years, how much brands are putting into it. But there's even more. It can go further. And as we've seen so many gaps like within the contracts and how they're building relationships with creators. There's so much potential for that to be stronger, but it won't unlock if there's no infrastructure around how they measure performance around creators, how they have their relationships with creators, even things like figuring out how to figuring out how to find or plan media, for example. I think brands will just be like, okay, we have a campaign, we've gotten budget from this part of our department, and we're going to put it towards that. But I think creators should be embedded in the whole long-term yearly planning, like a media company would, because all brands are being asked to become media companies now, in a sense. So they should be planning content and budget in that way too, which they're not, because there's so many question marks around how do we measure awareness, how do we measure views in terms of value, because not all creator content will lead to conversion, and that's okay. Some will, and that's fine, and some will lead to awareness, top of the funnel things. So we haven't really figured that piece out yet.
I would say, I think one mindset challenge in the creator economy that I encounter a lot from younger creators is that they seem to operate from fear in a lot of contexts, in the sense that they think that everything's going to fall apart tomorrow, and so they just need to get everything they can as the going's good. And I think that this can be true, but it's also one of those things where I think that the question that's never really asked, or is rarely asked, is what if it all works out, and how do we operate from a place of abundance? And I know that that's hard to do. For me, I mean, the way that we were able to flip that mindset was in a kind of probably toxic way, which was just hey, if it doesn't work out, we'll just go get other jobs, rather than being oh my god, I need to stay in this industry, and how do I stay in this industry, and how do I not fall off, and all this other stuff. I'm if I gotta fall off, I might as well do it having fun, and that allowed me to think much bigger, and it meant that I was willing to go out on my own terms, where it's the things that I wanted to do, I was able to do with a lot more conviction, because if it didn't work out, I was willing to say that I had a great ride, and I'm going to try something else, and maybe I'll do this part-time and continue to try and figure that out. And so, yeah, that sort of mindset, I think, comes from a lot of things, like the fact that the algorithm is pretty hard to understand, and everything feels very precarious. But I think that if you are able to build an emergency fund and get yourself in a place where you're I'll be good for 3 months or 6 months, what if I'm in a downturn in terms of my content, then you can start to think more ambitiously and broadly. And I think that is good for you, just for your nervous system, where you don't wake up every day going, how do I stay in this industry? And I think that can really be a boost to your creativity, and then ultimately success as well. So, yeah.
I suppose it almost sinks into finding multiple streams of ways of getting income, so you're not oh shoot, like if this isn't working, it's okay because you've got a bit of a backup elsewhere. So that's also like really important. And then I would say, I think it comes time and time again as time goes on, is like people will think, is it too late to start now? Or like, oh, there's too many people, blah, 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 blah. But that person that is probably technically going to be your like rival in the industry started yesterday. So like start when you can and like start now. There's enough room for
When I started 14 years ago, people said it was too late. Like seriously. So like I also think that this is one when I have to like appeal to data, I will always appeal to data, which is that like the argument that I always make if someone says that it's too late now is that brand spend on online creators has not matched TV. People spend a lot more for ads on TV than on creators, but conversions are way higher on creators, which means like we haven't caught up yet, because once those two things are equal, then you know that people are actually matching their ROI on TV versus on creators. And so right now we're still in the early stages, because if everyone was switched on, they would spend a lot more money in the areas that actually have higher ROI. And so it's still a nascent industry. And that's kind of crazy to say because it's been like 25 years, but like 25 years is a young time. Like Hollywood's really, really old. So yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you and say that there definitely is a panic in the industry where it's like, oh, Instagram's going to shut down right now. Everyone needs to move their audience to an email list. And while I do agree in terms of diversifying your audience and making sure that all your eggs aren't in one basket, we have to remember that nothing in life is stable. So you could have a job and be made redundant tomorrow. You could have a home that could be burnt down. And this might sound really morbid, but it's equally just as risky or just as not risky as anything else. It's just committing to the fact that no matter what happens, you will be okay and you will figure it out. So create from a place of abundance and a place of love for creating, as opposed to from a place of panic and fear and rushing it and thinking that you need to meet all your goals and get to this follower account in 6 months or in a year, because we have 14 years or more left.
I'm trying to peak when I'm 60, because it would be sad if I peak early, then it's like, what am I doing for the rest of my life? So like, you know, like that's the way I think about it. All right, one other thing. I know I've been talking for so long.
When you're 60, you need to go back into the dance thing.
Yeah.
That would be perfect.
The final thing is like, if you're a new creator or like in your first year or whatever, and you start making like real brand deals and like things start going really good, save some money, man. Like I'm just like, it stresses me out. So many creators, I'm like, you've been doing this for like 6 months and I know the brands that you're working with. I know how much you're probably getting paid, and I'm like, you're living a really cool life, but like how much are you really saving? I'm like, just save some money, like put 20% away for taxes, at least 20 to 30%, put 20% away for like just like pension, like just do it. Just like don't even, just do that.
Do it automatically.
Just do it
like,
automatically.
Straight away.
Just stresses me out. I'm like, you guys make such sick content, and you're just living like literally bank account almost to zero at the end of every month. But yeah.
What is the best and worst advice for pursuing a career in the creator economy?
Let's start with worst advice. Everyone's got bad advice in their life.
The worst advice for pursuing a career in the creator economy would be to just stick to trends. Just do what's trending and you will blow up. That's bad advice, in my opinion.
I think just starting in the creator economy and on the corporate side with not that much experience in influencer, just from the experience I've made myself, I feel like it wasn't really like direct advice, but I felt like in the corporate world, I was kind of made to feel like you should know your lane. And I couldn't disagree more. I've been in rooms with the CMO, head of digital, of like the biggest brands, telling them what their strategy is. And I think if you are confident, if you are well prepared, like there's not a lot of people in these rooms that look like me, and you can still step in that way and they will listen. And if they don't, someone else will. So I think that's something that I didn't let people get to me on, like stay in your lane. Like you have a couple years until you make this milestone and then you can get to this level and that level. I don't agree at all. I don't think we live in a world where it goes by that anymore. You can create your own experiences, and that's what I kind of took from that bad advice. I just didn't listen to it.
Worst advice, it has to be perfect. Like make it as good as possible. Just get going, like just start. Like you say, if it works and it goes viral, great. If it doesn't, no one will see it. Like just get going.
Yeah, I think the worst advice, the worst advice I personally ever received was don't do the channel that I'm currently doing. But that was a big thing for us because we're three of us on one channel, and everyone was like, oh, people on YouTube, like it's not like you can't do like a 3-person channel. It's not like a thing that happens. And yeah, that's the worst advice I was ever given. But more broadly, I think bad advice is generally, I found the best way to spot bad advice is actually from people who are sincere in their advice, like they aren't trying to give you bad advice, but they have a survivorship bias, right? It's like if someone, like what's worked for me is being on YouTube, and so me telling everyone, oh no, you should be on YouTube, like it's so great. Like that's bad advice because it worked for me, and I'm really convincing because that's worked for me, and I have all this evidence, doesn't mean it's going to be right for you. And you sort of have to be in the driver's seat and always take it with a pinch of salt in terms of they're coming from their perspective and they have a survivorship bias of what has worked for them, and just making sure that it's something that actually fits into where you're trying to go. Yeah.
I think the lesson here is that don't take advice from anyone's life you don't want. What's the best advice for pursuing a career in the creator economy?
I think getting a good support system. So like if that is just one person or your partner or a friend, it's really, really helpful. Or if someone's already in the creator economy, that's great. I think you forget how lonely it can be as a creator. And if no one is in the industry, they don't quite understand what you're going through and how frustrating things can be and how lonely it can be. So I think having that support system will help you mentally, and and also giving that advice and having that balance board. It can be one person or multiple people, but yeah, getting some support.
What I've observed from everyone else and who's really successful in their career is that they don't wait for permission. And I think I just tell myself, like, you don't have to wait. If you're not getting the validation or you're not getting the cosign by whoever you think you need cosign by, you have the tools to create your own experiences. And I'm here in London, moved to a different city just because I created my own experience. So,
I would say my best advice would be to be adaptable. I think this is, as long as the industry will continue it's fast moving and we're all learning so much at the same time, and we're basically in a tech boom where things are moving faster than ever. And if you refuse to move with it, or you are I don't want to say too slow, but in the sense of too slow to learn or too slow to pick up on where things are going, you'll hold yourself back a little bit. So just be adaptable, because inevitably things will change. Algorithms will change, content styles will change, your audience behavior will change, your views might change, but as long as you can move with that, you'll be okay.
I think for me, the best piece of advice that I've internalized is sort of a lesson that I've learned just like moving through the different phases of my career, which is that I have found that the most success that I have achieved has always come in a roundabout way from giving and being extremely helpful to everyone around me, and not in a way that's like, you know, I've made it now, I'm gonna break off a piece of bread for everyone else, but more like just being willing to help out with your friends, or in general, just being interested in the people in the industry in general. And all of that, because I actually think that being a helpful and nice person is optimal business strategy, because people like, as much as they want to work with people who have like, you know, who are brilliant creatives or have huge audiences, they actually want to work with people who are nice to work with. And like, one, being professional is part of that, but the other one is just like, oh, it's a good time when we get on a call and we're like hashing out the brand, whatever. And I found that being extremely giving has always like paid dividends back to me in the long course of 14 years, because you never know where someone's going to end up. But then also, even if they don't end up anywhere, I think helping people is kind of fun. Like it's like it's great in the short term and it's great in the long term. But that's something that I've continued to learn the benefits of. It's not really that practical, but like I love just helping people out.
You can find me on socials, Pele Newell. I'll be also updating my socials more. There's a new page coming. And then if you do want to support my production company, it's Boulder Studios. Talent management is Boulder Talent. If you are talent out there, that is very much production, video, editing, etc., then please have a look.
You can find me on TikTok. It's just my name, Ishveer. I'll spell it out, Ishveer.
You can find me on Instagram and YouTube and on TikTok sometimes at Chrissy Milan, and that's Chrissy with an IE.
And you can find me on Answer in Progress, which is the YouTube channel at youtube.com/answerinprogress. And then my personal Instagram is Can't Stop Me, that's KHANSTOP, and my name's Tahar Khan.
Thank you so much for watching our very first roundtable episode.
We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.
And for a discount code to use any of the Qube's location, check the description box down below.